Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 304 of the HP podcast. I'm Ben, and with me here, as always, are the beautiful boys. Davey, you're up first. Hello. You're wearing that shirt I like again.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think about you guys every time I put it on.
You think about it every time you take it off, too?
You know that thing they say where when a man gets a compliment, like you could have gotten a compliment like 10 years ago, but it just sticks with you. That's my most recent one. So thanks, fellas.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
like in ninth grade, a girl told me my eyes were pretty, and like when people are like, "What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?" I'm like, "It's that one." Like I don't even remember who it was. It's just nice to be appreciated, you know.
Sure.
I've probably got better compliments since then, but that's the one that like most resonated with me because ninth grade.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Certain compliments just hit different, but like,
Mm.
yeah. But yeah, I'm good. I went to my first hockey game in like many years on the weekend, so that was cool. I haven't been to a live hockey game in I don't know how long, but it's cool to get back in the barn and see the boys. I went to an OHL hockey game. OHL is the Ontario Hockey League, and it's like 17, 18, and 19-year-old players. It's like the key driver into the NHL.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see future NHLers. It's kind of cool, and you pay $20. Whereas if I went to a Leafs game, Toronto Maple Leafs, minimum I would have to spend to get into that arena is like $300. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love. I mean, I love live hockey, but I really like especially. I don't even know what divisions they are, but like anything that's above college, but not quite pro. I really like them because, like you mentioned, they're cheap, but also they're thirsty. They have something to fight for.
big time.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you make it in the NHL, and there's some brawlers in there. Don't get me wrong, but like when they're trying to get into the NHL, they're trying to make a name for themselves and get noticed.
Mhm.
So they're going to be the first one to drop a punch
Absolutely.
if need be. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good time. I'd like to go to a hockey game again soon. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not, but um, I love live hockey. I used to go to a lot of games. I used to go to a lot of games back in college because they had a thing called Student Rush, and I could go to the Penguins games for $20 as long as I was willing to wait in line, and I would get whatever the best seats that needed filled were because they just want
Damn.
people in the seats. So a lot of times we'd sit up against the glass for $20. It was great. You just got to sit in a lawn chair outside in the freezing cold for like 8 hours to get in. No big deal. Brandon, how many hockey games have you been to recently?
Go sports. Go sports. What was the last game I went to? I went to a high school volleyball game. That was probably the last game I went to. And then before that, I guess I went to a Pirates game. I don't know that I ever want to go to a Pirates game again or a baseball game again. It's just so fucking boring. And I guess it's a lot about, and maybe that's just me because I don't really care about the sport that much, but it's just so long. And maybe just hanging out is the fun. And I would agree with that if the beers weren't like $14 for like a single beer. It would be way more appealing, and I think like it could counterbalance the cheaper beer. People would buy more. Like if they made them cheaper, people would probably stay longer and
Do you want
drink
that?
more. I want that personally. Me, yes. That would heftily entice me to stay longer at a baseball game if I got to see drunk people fighting each other in the stands. Now that I'm saying it, it's probably a bad idea for
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
But I guess that's why you tailgate, but I've never really done that either. I did that once at a concert, but never for a sporting event. But go sports, go hockey.
Yeah, I
So,
asked you about hockey games, and you didn't mention a single hockey game.
yeah, I don't know that I've ever watched a hockey game.
What? At all?
I
Like,
think
even on
most
TV?
Americans are fall into that boat.
I think I've like seen it on TV, like when I've been at the bar or like somebody's had it on, but I've never like I don't even think I've watched half a game.
Hmm.
Maybe
That's incredible.
maybe a quarter of a game. If you consider how many times I glanced up at it, maybe it would be one quarter of one game.
I have to say, Brandon, like your live sporting event experience with baseball, you couldn't have a more exciting experience than hockey. So if
Correct.
baseball is putting you off from going to a live sporting event, give hockey a try. If you can find a cheap ticket somewhere for something to do, I highly recommend it. It's so
Yeah.
fast.
In 2006, I like would watch hockey games with my buddies, but was never really into it until one time somebody asked me about going to that student rush thing, which I was in college then. I had a student ID. It worked out, and ever since then, like ever since I went to that first game, I'm like, I get it now, and it's just so exciting. But baseball, I'm a casual baseball fan. Like I like baseball, but it's not like, it's not that it's whatever. But the real appeal of going to a game is that you get to be outside, you get to be with your friends or family, you get to eat some junk food, drink a couple beers that are way too expensive, as you mentioned. But I will say the slow part, that is the part that always bothered me. They have changed some rules in the last 2 years, I think. One being the pitch clock alone. And just the fact that the game moves so much faster now makes it way more enjoyable to be there in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that maybe if they just like never stopped, like ever, it was just like, oh, you throw one ball, okay, and then he's getting ready to grab another ball and throw it as soon as he's done doing the other. Like if it just actually never stopped, and then the next guy's
the same ball, but yeah.
And then the next guy's running. No, but in this case, he has three. And then once he's hit it, then the next guy's already running up to the plate, and you got to get there before the guy tries to throw it.
Yeah.
So you just got to be ready for it. Maybe like extreme baseball. I'm cooking something up, boys. I'm cooking something up. And there has to be some sort of physical contact because America loves that. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to put some thought into this. Maybe like an MMA angle where if someone's on the plate, you can like tap them out, or you can like break their arm to get them out, or something like that. I feel like that would sit well.
I will say that even though hockey is usually revered as the most brutal, and of course, most brain injuries come from football, some of the craziest fights I've ever seen have been in baseball. They're never like knockdown drag out fights, but some of the just like, somebody gets hit with a ball and the whole team rushes the pitcher. Like that doesn't happen. I guess that doesn't happen that often, but when it does happen, it's insane, especially because it's baseball.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, boys.
Lazy Wizard says, bring back basketball. No. We can tolerate talking about any sport, even soccer, but no basketball.
I'd probably rather watch basketball than baseball, though.
I'm a big basketball guy as
you're
well.
both off the show. I'm off the show.
Brendan.
I'm the minority here. I'm off the show. Sorry. I have to quit. See you guys later. But I'll finish out this episode. This is the HP podcast. Okay, real quick. Hariz brings up the skates to the neck incidences. That's only happened twice that I know of.
That guy died.
It's brutal.
One was recent. That one, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but it sure seemed like it from my perspective. And another one, years ago now. That one was rough.
And they still haven't mandated neck guards. It's the craziest thing.
Not in the U.S. or the North America. No. In some European leagues they have. Mm-hmm. But
just make dollar skates, and then just walk around instead of like deck hockey.
Just play deck hockey on the ice. It will work out really well, I'm sure. This is the HP podcast. We talk about video games and all sorts of nonsense while we're at it. You can check us out over on patreon.com/handsomephantom, where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate having you there. Of course, most of our patrons over there are at the $5 a month level, and we appreciate that even more. But either way, if you want to support us, it really does help us not have to take any money out of our pockets to keep this show going. You can also join us over on Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord, where you can hang out with a bunch of other weirdos. Excuse me. I said weirdos and I coughed. It feels like something in the universe told me I shouldn't have said that, but I don't think that's what it was. Hang out with us over at Discord for free. You don't have to pay anything to get in there. You just have to be a nice person, or at least tolerable if you're not nice. If you're not going to be nice, at least be tolerable. How's that? We don't really have any problems in the Discord, do we?
No, not yet.
Shout out to one of our Discord MVPs, Edward, for getting a new car today. It's a Nissan Sentra.
Yeah.
So it's almost a GTR.
Almost.
If you think about it.
Pert near, slap a GTR sticker on it, and then you're 3/4 of the way there. That's what I'm saying. I know you could get one off Temu. Yeah. I just know it.
Oh, man. Okay. Let's talk about the Game Awards nominees, boys. I don't even know how we want to take this. I even haven't even fully examined all of the categories here, but we do this every year. The Game Awards don't matter. They matter from a sales perspective, but there's some nice industry cred. It's nice to see some people get recognized, but we know it. You know, it's like the Grammys, like the Oscars. It's a lot of it's political and in nature. And I don't mean like U.S. politics. I mean like it's a game to some extent. I think, but let's just talk about the nominees. There's been some consternation over Game of the Year this year. Let's start off with Game of the Year, and then we can go through the categories and just talk about them a little bit, I guess.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing real quick? This is one of the
yes.
Literally, this website fucking sucks.
Really?
This website is awful. I hate it. That's all.
I think it's fine. Like, sure, you're allowed to have that opinion.
It does annoy me every time you click a category. And then when you go back, you expect to see all the categories, but instead
that's what I'm.
Takes, yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
I know what you're
that's
talking about.
literally my biggest problem. It's like, oh no, you can't go back. You must click something specific. Not like every other website ever works, but it's fine.
Let's talk about Game of the Year nominees. We got Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantasio. I'm being told my mic is quiet. Is that true, boys?
A little bit.
A tiny bit quiet.
Let's see. How about that? How's that?
That's much
good.
better.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Derek, you know who else has been quiet is Nintendo.
It's great to know 15
pipe
minutes.
down over there.
15 minutes into the show that my mic was quiet. I appreciate that, everybody. I'm speaking to the chat right now. Idiots. Thanks for waiting 15 minutes. No, thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
Some interesting noms this year's, boys. A lot of discourse online. We have things like Astrobot, a solid platformer, but maybe in a stronger year, maybe would have never been nominated. We have games like Balatro that have really sent a rift throughout the gaming sphere on what should and should not be considered a Game of the Year contender. To which I say, of course, Balatro should be. That's a moronic take to think that it couldn't be, even if it was made by one person. It pushes the industry in a good direction, in a direction that hasn't been pushed before. It has a unique twist, and I think the game's great. The other ones are not as surprising to see in the Game of the Year contender spot, with the exception of Shadow of the Erdtree. That also has caused a lot of drama, a lot of waves. People saying that there should be a DLC category. There should be, but there's not, and that's exactly why it got nominated. So even though
there used to be a DLC category,
I don't know. I feel like there was, but I can't substantiate that. But my complaint with that specifically, the Shadow of the Erdtree, is that whether or not people agree or disagree that it should be put in here, and I'm in agreement that it probably shouldn't, but it's okay that it is, and I'm going to say why. Because there isn't a DLC category. If there was, that's where it's supposed to go. But because there's not, it should be here. Does it really make it fair for other games that it may be pushed out? No, but that's just the reality of the landscape. And it does deserve to be of that sort of praise. But I think it's more of an issue with the formatting of the show and less of an issue with the game itself. So the gripe should not be with the people that voted for it or the people that support it being in this spot. It should be with the people that organized the show for allowing this sort of thing to be had and not a separate category be made altogether. So
my opinion specifically on Erdtree is it kind of sucks that they changed. I mean, maybe this was always okay, but they specifically changed the rules this year to make that because they knew that was getting nominated, right? Like, I don't think that was specifically outlined in years past, and then this year it specifically outlines that it can be. I don't really have a problem because I don't care one way or another. Like, it'd be nice if there was something else in there that give a little shine to a new game, but there's no doubt that Erdtree was phenomenal and everybody loved it. But my thought on it is, like, the fact that you have to play a lot, not just a little bit. You don't just have to own a different game. You have to play a lot of a different game to be able to play Erdtree at all. And you could make the case that, okay, you need to play the first game in a series for a sequel to be nominated or to be played or whatever like that. I don't really vibe with that because like you could jump in and play the third iteration of a game without having played the first two. It just might not be as good to you. The fact that you must own another game in order to play this game, that's my biggest contention. But again, I don't actually care. Dave, any discourse on Erdtree?
No, I'm with you guys. I don't like it. I think Elden Ring has had its time to shine, and it's probably. I feel like there are other games that you could make a case that should be in there. Like it's not like there was a shortage of other good games this year. I feel like Stellar Blades, as example, kind of got snubbed, and yeah, I don't like the idea that DLC is up there with in that category in general. Yeah, I don't really have any more to add than what you guys said. But yeah, it's kind of a weak crop altogether, in my opinion. Not saying there aren't great games in there, but I'm looking out through some of the other categories. It's like best action adventure game. You had like Star Wars Outlaws, and there was another one in there that was just like, okay, they're literally just picking stuff to put in there. Yeah, I don't know. But the one category I look at, and I'm like, if you told me this was game of the year, I would believe you. It was best action game with Wukong, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, Warhammer. There's another, like, I don't know. I feel like Warhammer had a lot more pull this year than some of the other stuff I'm seeing. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're right, Ben. This is just a sales thing. It's not something to put too much stock into. So yeah, but I don't like DLC being in there for sure.
Yeah. Brendan, to your point about Balatro and a lot of people being upset about it, I think the only people that I've seen, at least online, upset about this, and I guess that's where everyone who actually cares about this is online, but is Balatro, and they're like, oh, it's just a poker game, and it's like the only people who are upset about Balatro. Well, let me take that back. The only people saying stuff like that about Balatro are people who haven't played it because it is barely a poker game. Like it's a genre breaking game, really.
Right.
Just like a lot of other games are. But Balatro definitely turned a lot of things on its head for the genre it's in for a card game. And I mean, if a game like, I don't know, It Takes Two can win Game of the Year, why not this? Definitely was a different type of game entirely and a smaller game. I love the fact. I mean, I know that Local Funk had a publisher in PlayStack, but just the fact that it's a solo dev with really crappy code, from everything I understand, I think that's awesome. That not only has he probably made a ton of money, but also nominated for Game of the Year. That's really cool to me.
Yeah.
Any other thought? I wanted to. I don't know. I might disagree with you, Dave, about this being a lackluster category. I mean, I think there are definitely things that not in here that could have been in here, or that maybe even you could argue should have been in here over something else, and whatever that other something is, take your pick. But I think they're really strong. Like Metaphor is fantastic. Final Fantasy Rebirth is fantastic. Shadow of the Erdtree, even though I don't necessarily agree with it being eligible, it's still fantastic. Black Myth Wukong was fantastic. Astrobot was great. I don't know. I don't feel like this is subpar at all. It's not like the year we had. What was the few years ago when something weird won? There was a few years ago where it was like, wow, none of these are good enough to be Game of the Year.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a pretty. Maybe it wouldn't be my pick for the 6 games that make the list, but it's a decent list.
Was that the year that had Stray?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. That
as
was
Game of the Year.
Weird. Yeah, that was. I remember talking about that and being like, they pulled this together. And I can't remember who won that year. That was Elden Ring, actually.
Yeah, that would have been Elden Ring.
So
where it was like there was Elden Ring and then there was 4 others. And there clearly were 4 others.
Elden Ring, Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Stray, and something Japanese.
I don't remember something Japanese.
Xenoblade.
Oh.
Xenoblade.
Yeah. So I get the idea of like a bunch of different categories, but does best action and best action / adventure game have to be a separate category?
I think the best action adventure is a kind of a weird name because they also, I don't know, I understand what you're saying. Um yeah, it does kind of seem like one big category. I just look at best action adventure, Prince of Persia, which was a 7. Star Wars Outlaws, which was Star Wars Outlaws, Echoes of Wisdom, which it's a Nintendo first party game, so it's got to be in there somewhere, but you know, that game wasn't. It just, this seems like the other category, and it's just so weird to me, but I don't know. It's just filler content. I don't know. I had a really bad taste in my mouth last year after the Game Awards. It was so long and so many announcements were so meh, and I don't know. I'm just sour, I guess, on
Yeah.
Ghibli this year.
I think it's going to be the same way this year. I don't know. I know there's been a lot of controversy already surrounding it, and it's kind of like as it's grown bigger, it's like continued to be scrutinized. And honestly, as it's grown bigger, I almost feel like the quality as a consumer has went down significantly. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I highly doubt we're going to get Please Wrap It Up this year. I mean,
I bet
maybe
we
they're
will.
probably they're
I bet we
probably
do.
going to say something different. like I don't know, just because it's become such a meme now. But I'm really glad to see that Helldivers didn't get completely snubbed. I think they are a shoo-in for best multiplayer. I think that all the other things are just kind of like good and solid, but I really hope they win that just for the sake of the game getting its recognition.
Yeah.
Because it was so early in the year, I feel like sometimes when games come out that early in the year, it almost doesn't feel like they came out this year, but it's been such a strong presence all year, and it's had ups and downs. But
Speaking of being too late or too early, like time of year, was Dragon Age not eligible? Do you guys know how this works? Because I didn't see it anywhere. And
I think Dragon
considering
Age
the
would have been
reception
eligible.
it got, I was kind of surprised to see that.
I think Dragon Age was eligible.
did it get
As far
nominated
as
for
timeline.
anything?
Innovation and accessibility. Yeah, okay, it's there for one category, but yeah, I don't know. I was thought that would have been a little bit more prevalent, especially in some of the action categories. But
I remember seeing there was a headline. I think it was from Kotaku, maybe. That said like Dragon Age. Here, let me look. Dragon Age Game Awards. Um, maybe this was just a bait on Twitter. I don't know, but I think it said something along the lines of like Dragon Age, a game specifically engineered to appease Game Awards judges, misses all the nominations or something like that. And I'm like, maybe that's why,
right,
you know, like
yeah,
because it was too on the nose. I don't know.
yeah,
They're basically saying like it was judge bait. That was a bait. That wasn't a real thing.
It's like
I'm pretty
Oscar
sure
bait.
it was. I'm pretty sure it was by who I saw post it. But I could be wrong.
Dude, content creator of the year. Really glad to see KCO in there. You guys know who that is?
Yeah, queso.
Yeah.
I agree, and he's great. I'm surprised you don't see Kai in there.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at the other people. Do you know who any of the other people are?
I know who they are by seeing their names. I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know them by seeing their names. I'm not like a KC. Yeah, it is KCO, huh?
It's queso.
I haven't watched Queso. I haven't watched much of his content, but like everyone talks really highly of him, and I know he's like a huge variety streamer. So
Just go watch some of his Just go watch some of his shorts. You don't need to sit and watch a whole stream or anything. Just go watch some of his shorts.
really,
A couple minutes of
Okay.
content, and you'll instantly understand why
I've
he's
seen,
so
like-
appealing.
okay, yeah, I've like seen clips on Twitter, and they've all been funny, but I've never like sat and watched one of his streams.
Yeah. What else here? Let's look at the indie games. That's what we like to talk about, right? Let's see. Best debut indie game and best independent game. Now let's see if they actually got it right this year. Last year, of course, they put in indie games that were not indie games, but they had the right vibe apparently. Best debut indie game: Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and Plucky Squire. Plucky Squire, I heard wasn't that great, but I don't know. The rest of them, Balatro, of course, I've spoken about for months and months and months at this point. Um, but I didn't really vibe with Animal Well. I'm sure it's great, but I didn't. It wasn't my thing, at least at the time I tried to play it. And I haven't checked out Manor Lords or Pacific Drive. What about you guys? Any of those?
Pacific
appealing?
Drive has been on my list for a long time,
Mine too.
and unfortunately, I just haven't had the chance to get into it. But yeah, I mean, I've heard similar things to Plucky Squire that you did, but all good first showings from
Yeah.
these people, and then get into best indie game, and Neva is there from Nomada Studio makers of
Yeah.
Greece.
I
So
saw that.
yeah, good to see that on there. But
And they also snagged a best art direction, I think, for Neva as well.
good.
Did you play that yet, Dave?
No, not yet.
Okay, I didn't think so. But any other categories you guys just want to chat about? It's always fun to just talk about this stuff, even if it doesn't matter.
I'm trying to see if I know any of the esports athletes.
Probably not.
Yeah, again, one of the categories I'm most interested in is best action game. Gonna go back in there. Best action game, which is Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer. Like those to me are the heavy hitters. And the like again, if you told me that was game of the year, I wouldn't notice. The only one I would raise my eyebrow at is Call of Duty, because that's a game that just traditionally isn't nominated very much. But I mean, we were talking about these games all through the year, one after another. So I suspect Black Myth is going to take it just because. But I mean, if any of those won it, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I'll be very interested to see who takes that one home.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I'm apt to be really interested in the best art category, best art direction. I think any of them aside from Astrobot could easily take it. Not that Astrobot's art direction isn't good. It's just like standard. I don't know. It just seems like okay. And all the other ones are so standout in comparison. So
Yeah. I have a feeling that we don't see Metaphor get Game of the Year or Game Direction. I have a feeling it'll either get Best Narrative or Best Art Direction. And can we, for 1 year, just drop the pretense that Game of the Year and Best Game Direction always having the same nominees? That Best Game Direction isn't just the consolation prize for Game of the Year.
right.
Like, that's very obvious to me. That if you don't win Game of the Year, if you win Best Game Direction, you basically got second place in Game of the Year.
Right.
Like, that just seems very obvious.
Yeah. Also, I guess Metaphor could take best RPG as well.
I think it'll take a lot that it was nominated for. I just don't. I don't know. I'd really love to see Rebirth take Game of the Year, although I think it's probably got too much anti-recency bias. You know, the opposite of recency bias. People have forgotten about it by this point, but
Right. Also, Dragon's Dogma 2. Not getting anything but best RPG. Kind of interesting. That game kind of came and went.
Yeah, the game fell off real quick.
Real bad.
People stopped talking about it really quickly. So, okay. If there's anything else you guys want to draw out, I'm happy to talk about it. Otherwise, we can move on. Moving on.
That's it.
Let's talk about this one. Sony potentially being interested in From Software. This comes from Forbes. Sony may be poised to have another major weapon in its arsenal. Reuters is reporting that Sony is in talks to acquire Kadokawa, the parent company of From Software, which is the developer of games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls. The report says that talks are ongoing and a deal could manifest in a matter of weeks. Sony already has a 2% stake in Kadokawa and a 14% stake in From Software itself, but this would bring both entirely under its wing. However, Sony owned FromSoft games would not be the only result of this acquisition, as it would be yet another path for Sony to control manga and anime properties when they are already an enormous powerhouse in that segment, owning the likes of anime streaming service Crunchyroll, which already absorbed another anime staple, Funimation, in the last few years. As for how owning From Software would affect PlayStation, the obvious idea is that it's entirely possible that future From Software games could and/or would be PlayStation exclusives released on PS5 or PS6, but not on Xbox like Elden Ring was. That could also affect new PC releases, as instead of launching on Steam day one, a FromSoft game could use Sony's delayed PC release schedule and not land there until much later. Boys, what do you think about this? That speculation, by the way, about the delayed release and no Xbox, that was not mine. That was from Forbes. But what do you think about? Is this a good idea, bad idea?
So normally with this kind of thing, I'd kind of be like, okay, cool, but I'll believe it when I see it. But as Alex just pointed out, Katakawa confirmed this morning that this is actually happening, and I think the fact that they've actually come forth and said yes, we're looking into this, makes it feel a lot more real than it is right now. So I think, looking at it as rumor or speculation is selling ourselves a bit short, because it sounds like this is something that is a very real possibility. And considering that Sony already has an ownership stake, these aren't two new dance partners. These are people that have worked together before. So it's I suspect this is more Sony going after anime distribution. I know, we look at it from a video game standpoint, and through that lens, we want to talk about From Software, but it sounds like the crux of the deal is for anime and manga, which is huge. Like it's big things. So I guess I wonder, what is it going to mean for our world? Is it going to simply mean maybe we'll see a lot more higher quality anime games come to PlayStation and PC, or will this mean a change for future From Software releases? And I don't really know. One of the things I do wonder is, From hasn't published any of their own games. They've always found other publishers, whether it be Bandai Namco or Activision or Sony. What happens to the IPs where From owns the IPs, but the publishing rights, like Sekiro as an example, if Sony owns From Software, is Sekiro dead and gone? Is it a Sunset Overdrive kind of situation where we potentially see franchises that are just going to go dormant? I don't know if anyone was really expecting like a sequel to Sekiro, but just as an example, I do wonder what that means for some of From Software's back catalog. So yeah, interesting situation. Sounds like it's going to be a thing that could very likely happen. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, I think that Katakawa said this morning they got the offer. I think that's kind of what they confirmed, was that they got the hey, we're interested type of business. I think that's really all that's been had from it. I was seeing a lot of people talking today about how enormous of a purchase this would be if it does happen, up there with purchases that we've seen Microsoft make more recently, like Activision. So I don't really know how Sony could do that personally, based off of kind of the purchases that they've made recently. I think it would kind of be an unprecedented purchase, kind of like we saw with Activision. But I don't know, maybe they just get a majority stake and that's enough. But I would be worried for the future of From games. I think that this series is really, well, this developer in their IP is really on a momentous and like very fast-paced upward trend in the past couple of years since Elden Ring, and has been for years now, and kind of skyrocketed after Elden Ring. So I would just be worried for the future of that. And I would hate for something like Elden Ring or something like From to be on such an upward trajectory. And not to say that Sony couldn't help them along with that, but for them to kind of be stinted a little bit because of rights, because of Sony being Sony. So I don't know.
Let's hope Sony doesn't try to get From to make a live service hero shooter.
Right, exactly. And, by all accounts, hopefully it's a good thing. Like, I want it to be a good thing. I like Sony. I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm wearing a PlayStation hoodie right now, right? Like, I get it. But I'm also like, I play a bunch of places. So even though I think it could be good, I hope they make the right moves, especially with a developer that has really kind of done well by themselves in the past couple of years, significantly well.
I think the answer to how they could afford it is that it probably would not be a cash transaction, right? Like, I don't think there's many banks in the world that wouldn't be willing to give Sony whatever they asked for, as far as debt goes. But that's, I don't know. I don't know how much cash they have on hand, but I bet it's not enough to straight up buy Katakawa and maintain their cash flow the way they would need to. I don't know what Katakawa's worth.
Dude, 340 billion Japanese yen.
340 million in assets, I see.
Billion.
Yen.
In yen.
Still a lot.
I mean, sure.
I tried to convert it, but the converter was being
Katakawa
weird.
market cap is roughly 2.75 billion USD.
Yeah.
Hogue put the valuation, which I would trust Hogue, at 15 to 20 billion. So more like what they paid for Bungie, probably. But still, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, the obvious answer to me is debt. Like they take out a loan, they get the terms they want because they're Sony. If they don't pay for it outright. But with that said, you talk about the rights, and you may be very correct about all that stuff. But I know of some instances in recent years where people have gone with other publishers, and I'm not saying this is FromSoft necessarily, but people have gone with other publishers, and basically it's been outlined. Like you get a period of ownership over this where nobody else can distribute it or own it or whatever, and then that falls off. And then there's also the fact that most big developers no longer need to give up their IP like they used to. For instance, Bloodborne. Basically, they had Sony publish it. Sony owns Bloodborne, period.
Right.
That's not... If FromSoft or Katakawa in general were to be owned by Sony, there is no chance that the deal they did with Activision to get Sekiro out would still be in effect, in my opinion. I don't know that for sure. I just know that has fallen by the wayside. Even down to indie games, a lot of indie developers are now basically saying, like, we're not giving up our IP, and you're still having people who are wanting IPs, but then you have places like Devolver and Annapurna, and they're like, we'll just help you push your game out. We'll make some of the money, but we're not taking your IP. Like, the more niche publishers don't do that. And I would imagine if you're a powerhouse like Sony or or Katakawa, you can say to Activision, if there is some deal in place, what do you want for this? Because we're never letting you make another one of these games again, as long as we can. So, like, what's the point in owning the IP?
Right.
I wouldn't be too worried about that, but yeah, I don't. From the exclusivity part, I wouldn't love an exclusive. I don't love exclusive anything. And then from the piece with potential monopoly, getting close to monopoly on anime in the U.S. at least distribution. That's a little bit concerning, but it's out of my wheelhouse, out of our wheelhouse as a video game podcast. So I don't know. Market cap plus revenue plus 4 times premium that other acquisitions have gotten recently. I think that's where Hogue put the valuation at 15 to 20 billion. So that's even above what the market cap would be. So it's still a lot of money, but I don't think it's 280 billion. I don't think there are many companies in the entire world worth 280 billion. That's a lot of money.
It's more than we have, like the three of us.
We keep getting patrons. We'll get there.
We could buy them.
Handsome Phantom acquisition. The biggest
Do you
acquisition in gaming history. Imagine if somehow, like, some way, imagine a reality where someone like us could do something like that and how it would just break everything.
Yeah.
I would love that.
If they were a $300 billion company, they would be worth approximately 1/6 of Microsoft, which I don't think is the case. Anyway.
So they're pretty close to being acquired by us, is what you're saying.
We could probably buy them. We could afford
They're
them.
pretty fucking close. Pump them Patreon numbers, folks. Support the show. Katakawa can be ours. We'll make Bloodborne 2 happen, even though it's not owned by them.
Number 3. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, 60 FPS. Brandon, would you like to take this one?
No, really,
you suggested it?
Dude, it was for Dave, dude.
Dave, would you like to read this one?
I saw this story and I was like, I should pitch this as a joke for the news today, and then Brandon suggested it, and I'm like,
I did it for
okay,
you. I did it for
sure.
you.
I'll why not? One of the most underrated classic Assassin's Creed games randomly got a 60 FPS update on Xbox Series X and S. It's the perfect time to visit one of 2015's most underappreciated games. Assassin's Creed Syndicate now runs at 60 FPS on Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5, thanks to a free update from developer and publisher Ubisoft. You all wanted it and you got it. This entry in the Assassin's Creed franchise is the last of an older classic style before the series began a more heavily exploring role-playing game elements. While the game was playable on modern consoles thanks to backward compatibility, it was previously locked to 30 FPS, making it feel and look slower compared to many other games. Now it's a 60 FPS experience, making it smoother to revisit or play for the first time. Brandon, it's only November 20th, but Christmas has come early for you, my friend.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on? Did you take the day off work to boot it up and do a fresh save or what?
Yeah, I had never played it to begin with. I just found this very interesting. I love to see when old games get updated. I just don't know who the fuck was asking for this game to be updated. Maybe they're like trying to save face after shutting down the Prince of Persia team. They're like, this is what everybody wants. This is what we must do at Ubisoft. We must make it 60 frames. And yeah, as soon as I saw this story, I thought of you, Dave. Very intimately, I thought of you. I guess it's just an overall cool thing to have old games be updated, especially from Ubisoft, because I feel like they're more apt to just like charge you for something like this. So I'm glad to see that it kind of came out of nowhere and makes me wonder what the angle is, because there has to be an angle, but I don't know what that is.
I think there was probably like somebody in the room was like, "Oh, how do we make the next Assassin's Creed game? We should look back at Syndicate, see how that works. Oh man, there's literally a button here we can push and it's 60 FPS, and it's that easy, guys."
I was going to say some developer at Ubisoft Montreal showed up hungover on Monday. It was just scrolling through his Jira tickets and he's like, "What's the easiest one? Here we go. Boom. We're in the news." Did either of you guys play Syndicate?
I played a little bit of it, but I did not.
Yeah. It's criminally overlooked game in the series because it came out after Unity, and
Right.
Unity was Unity. Yeah, it was good, but it showed the aging of the formula for sure, which is why we got the RPG games. But if somebody asked me to recommend this game to them today, I would say if it's a lot cheaper than Mirage, then yes. Otherwise, I would just say get Mirage or Rogue. That's another one that got overlooked because of Unity. That is better than most games in the series. So yeah.
Is that the one with Jacob Fry?
Jacob Fry is in Syndicate. Jacob and Evie Fry. It was in England. It's in like industrial area. It's actually the most recent Assassin's Creed. If you look at all the settings.
That's the one with the Jack the Ripper DLC.
Yes.
And the Gatling guns.
I watched someone play the Jack the Ripper part, the Jack the Ripper DLC. I did not play that one though.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Brandon, very good story. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Let's move on to the next story you brought to our attention. You wanted to talk about the Stalker 2 mess.
Yeah, Stalker 2 came out. I honestly was kind of looking forward to this game, having known very little about the first one and only heard someone I work with or used to work with talk very highly of the first one. This game's came out on Unreal Engine 5, which we've known has posed some difficulties for developers. I don't know the specifics of it, but I guess this game came out just completely broken in a lot of ways. Pre-release, post-release. I was reading a lot of stuff about how there was just like constant black screen flickering. The UI kept getting stuck on geometry and like clipping through things. A lot of the lighting wasn't working, and that it's just completely and totally horrid looking, and runs really badly on Xbox. So I think that people that are playing it are having a much better time when they're on PC. But even that being the case, I've heard like really, really mixed, buggy things. So kind of wished it would have slapped the early access moniker on it, even though I'm not like about that. I think that it probably would have been received a lot better. But the fact that they were trying to take a series which by many accounts, not by me, but by many accounts, was a loved series that is very old at this point, and has influenced many games, and kind of just shit it out is kind of unfortunate. It's still getting kind of middling reviews. I didn't check the OpenCritic or Metacritic on it recently, but yeah, I don't know. This sucks because I wanted to enjoy this game, and I probably will enjoy it like a year from now. It's just another broken mess. And I want Unreal Engine 5 games to do well. I really do, because I feel like it's an amazing engine, but seems like developers are just having troubles, boys. I don't know if it's just them specifically. I know it's kind of been a troubled development. I think I was reading that this game's been on and off in development for like maybe close to 10 years or something like that. But even so, it's kind of underbaked. Kind of underbaked. I didn't know if you boys had any opinions about it, but
I mean, yeah, it sucks that it didn't come out well and everything, or at least the pre-patch it didn't. I don't know about after the patch, but I see a lot of people online being like, we should give them a break because they're in Ukraine and they were literally in a war while they were making this game, and several of the developers went and died fighting for their country. And I'm like, I sympathize with that. I wish that didn't happen. I'm upset that happened to these people who were just trying to make a game and trying to live their lives. But should they have put the game out? Like, if it's broken.
right, yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Ed brings up a good point in chat, and I can't
That's
think
unlikely.
of one off the top of my head. Is there any Unreal Engine 5 PC games that run well that we've had out aside from Fortnite? The
No,
people who
and
make the engine.
there seem to be a lot more big developers going proprietary, and yeah, even Wukong, Remnant 2, Lords of the Fallen. This is just another example of a Unreal Engine 5, which was the best marketed engine on the planet, but it's clearly people are starting to see that there's issues here.
Hey, Jusant ran really well.
Okay, yeah.
Hellblade 2, Alex
Remnant
in chat
2.
saying as well. Remnant 2, I forgot that was Unreal Engine 5. So you do have a couple, but I would say it's like a very mixed bag. I feel like developers are having like a hell of a problem. And I wonder if that's, and
Delta
I guess
Force?
we don't know about all the development, but I would be curious to see if some of the developers that are having all of these problems are ones that are trying to transfer directly from Unreal Engine 4, or if they build it from the ground up in 5. Because I wouldn't be surprised, and now this is me just like talking out my ass right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if the ones that have tried to do the transfer have had nothing but problems. And I don't want to give them a pass, but I mean, it sounds likely to me.
I think the thing is that it probably works pretty well to do the transfer if you don't have a lot of custom code. And the nice thing about Unreal is that there's a lot of ability to do custom code and make it work well, but when you transfer that custom code to a different engine, it becomes an entirely different nightmare.
Right.
Because it doesn't interact the same way as it did previously, because it was custom to Unreal 4 rather than Unreal 5.
Dude, I can't wait for Halo to come out and be buggy mess. Just like Stalker 2.
mean, you could just play it now and it'd be a buggy mess.
Dude, Infinite runs great.
It does run great, you're right. And I do love it. So I don't want to play it right now, but I do like it.
No,
I do like
no,
this game.
nobody wants to play it, but it's not a bad game.
Right.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
kind of like fucking what's his dick Concord. It's not the worst game, but nobody wants to play that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, now
like,
you
I
don't have the option to, so
Yeah, now we don't even have the option.
yeah.
Dude, in Frostbite, oh my god! Speaking of another engine that has had contention since the beginning, I feel like Frostbite has always been very up and down for many years. So I'd be interested to see now I'm just kind of getting off in a bit of a tangent.
Frostbite
but
was built for very specific purposes, and the fact that they tried to propagate it widely was a mistake, in my opinion.
Shout out to the RE engine,
Yeah.
the GOAT.
shout out to the fucking Fox engine, which was incredibly underutilized, like incredibly. And now it's what is it? A soccer game engine? Yes, it's a soccer game engine,
Is
and
it? Okay.
it made fucking Phantom Pain, which is an amazing game that is super feature heavy and looks beautiful.
They no longer use the Fox engine.
So it's just in the
for-
grave.
for Pro Evolution Soccer.
Whatever, bro. Yeah, it's just another sad story here. Ukrainian or not. It's tough, man. I wanted the idea of this game, the idea of the first one, and I saw a lot of people talking online. Someone brought up in chat that it wouldn't be a Stalker game if it didn't come out like a buggy mess, and
That's
like
true.
we all talk about things like, Bethesda games. Yes, of course they're going to be buggy. Yeah, Euro Jacob. And like, I guess the first one had a lot of like fan made fixes with mods and stuff, which is fine. But it being a full price game and just being broken at launch is kind of discouraging as usual. So this was actually the last game for the year that I was looking forward to, and now I probably won't even be playing it this year.
So now you get to save some cash.
Indiana Jones, man. No? Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I guess. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I just keep forgetting about it.
I'm excited for it too. Brandon, there's this game that you should probably check out. It's called Red Dead Redemption 2.
Dude, I know. I've heard awesome things. You know the KSI song "In the Thick of It" or "Thick
No.
of It"?
I don't.
It's like this meme song that's coming out by this guy KSI. He's one of the guys that does the
I know
Prime
who
drink.
KSI is.
I saw is an awful song. It sounds like it should be in like a Disney character montage. It is like just the most like AI sounding thing I've ever heard. But somebody did Red Dead Redemption 2, Thick of It, with Arthur Morgan, and it did something for me. I'm not gonna lie. I was laying in bed watching it last night, and I felt something in my loins.
Not enough to get you to play the game.
No, I think I pretty much played the game having watched that.
So we should absolve you of your resolution.
Resolution
Call
done, baby. Resolution done, baby. Let's go.
You finished 2 Red Dead Redemption.
Technically, baby. Let's go.
Let's talk about what we've been playing. Let's see here. Brandon, we're going to go with you first.
Yeah, sure. So I've been playing more Black Ops. Season 1 dropped. Been enjoying that. New maps are cool. I've been feeling the weight of not playing consistently lately. When I don't play consistently, I'm just very aggravated because I'm not efficient enough and I'm not good enough. So I got to kind of flex that muscle apparently all the time to be good at it. But nothing new to say aside from Season 1 is cool. I do want to play more Warzone. I popped in for 1 match of Warzone and was really enjoying it. I got to get a team together to play. I think that most of the people we play with, there's often too many people to play in quads even. So that kind of will limit the amount we're going to be able to play because if the boys are on, we're playing with all of us. That's just how it's going. So, but more to comment on soon. I do want to finish the campaign. I'll probably try to wrap that up this week. I'm like 75% of the way through that. And then I checked out the Skywalker Saga on Game Pass this week. I was playing co-op with my girlfriend a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. Always loved the Lego Star Wars games, more so than even any of the Star Wars things that have ever existed. I love the Lego games more than that. So, my girlfriend loves the Star Wars movies. She was like quoting everything. It was actually really amazing. But yeah, just good fun, and it looks and runs really well on Series X. Not that Lego games are that visually impressive, period, but I noticed that I don't know, it was a nice surprise for it to look as shiny and bright and run well as it did. So, cool game. Going to continue to check it out, but not a whole lot to say there. And that's about it.
Brandon, when am I going to get to meet your girlfriend? Because it sounds like I would like her more than you.
I think,
just to clarify, I would like her
anybody-
more than I like you.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I think anybody, like if we put us side by side
Uh-huh.
and you talk to either one of us for more than like, I don't know, I'd maybe elbow in at the 10-second mark, but after 10 seconds of speaking, then she would like sweep. She would sweep everything. I would get it with the ginger charm, and that's all I have. That's it.
And that's
Excuse
pretty
me,
weak.
what?
That's like weak.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
What?
Ginger charm.
No, there isn't.
Come on.
How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you, sir? The ginger charm is real, dude.
Okay, fair enough.
That's it.
Davey, I think you're up.
I finished Echoes of Wisdom, so I'd like to put a postmortem on that. I think overall I was disappointed by this game. It was very inconsistent because there's parts about this game that I loved and parts that I was not very happy with and parts that I really didn't like. But first thing, I thought the puzzle solving was really cool. It was, I said this when I first started playing, but like it felt like Zelda, but it also felt like it was a brand new Zelda type experience, which I thought was really cool. I think being able to summon in echoes really changed the game in a good way. So yeah, I really enjoyed that about it. What I didn't like was there were some echoes that just kind of trivialized the game, and I saw some other people talking about this, but by the time you finish the game, I don't know how many echoes I had. I want to say like, let's say 65. I felt like I used the same 5 for everything. I had water blocks that I used for most of my traversal. I had anytime I needed to fight something, I just spawned in a level 3 Dark Nut, which one shots pretty much everything. So why would I need to use anything else? And a couple other things. And it just kind of felt like I had all this stuff that there wasn't really a use case for. And I kind of feel like the game missed the mark a bit on that. The other thing that I was pretty disappointed about was exploration. When I play a Zelda game, I want to feel the drive to uncover all of the map because I want to not miss anything, any special item or any, piece of a heart, that kind of stuff. There was too many times in Echoes of Wisdom where I did exploring and I found like a cave or a group of enemies who were guarding a chest, and I would kill that group of enemies and I opened the chest and it was just a random ingredient for a smoothie. Same thing with like caves and stuff like that. It was just the reward for exploring. It didn't pay off enough, which sucks because like there was a pretty cool wardrobe system in this game where you could wear different pieces of clothing that would give you buffs. And I felt like a lot more could have been done with that. There's a section near the end of the game, which I would love to talk more about, but I don't want to spoil it, where it starts to explore some really, really cool puzzle solving ideas, like some of the coolest things I've done in a Zelda game. And then the game just ends. And it all kind of feels like this game may have been rushed to release. You add in sort of some of the performance issues too. And yeah, I just think overall, I want to play Link's Awakening. What was the other? That was the other Switch game that
Link's
came
Awakening.
out. Yeah.
The
I want to play that game now because I know that's a lot better than this. But I do not regret buying this game at full price. And I would recommend it to people, maybe on the Switch too when it runs a little bit better. But I think overall my standards for a Zelda game are very high, and this did not meet those standards. So, yeah, I don't know. Ben, have you finished it yet?
It's killing me that it's just sitting right here, and I have not touched it since the first couple nights I played it.
Yeah.
And really because of the performance issues for me. I like what I was playing, and I like the gameplay aspects of it, at least in the first 10 hours or so. But that was really killing me. But you talk about it being rushed, and that would make a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense that Nintendo rushed it because there was no need to. It does make sense from the fact that they knew everybody was still going to buy it, but it is disappointing in general that this game does not seem to have much of it doesn't seem to have real long legs on it.
No.
And I will be interested to see what happens when the Switch 2 comes out, how much it boosts performance and everything. I'm really hoping they allow for physical games to be used, not just software. But we'll see. But no, I haven't finished it, and it's killing me that I haven't, because I'm as someone who has played almost every single Zelda game, I really, really, really wanted to play it, and I still will. But the performance is the nights I was playing it, at least it was making me ill, and I didn't.
All right. Yeah, when I started playing it, I was playing docked, and then I switched to handheld, and I found that either I wasn't noticing it as much because I got used to it, or it was just better on handheld. But yeah, in any case, it was borderline unacceptable.
It's funny because I've talked for so long about how the majority of my playtime on the Switch has been in docked mode, and then this game came out, and I was like, or no, I'm sorry, has been in handheld, and this game came out. I was like, I'm gonna play in docked, and it just happens to be one of the worst examples. And I'm like, maybe I made the right decision all these years,
Yeah.
only playing in handheld. But problem is, I don't really have a avenue to play in handheld very often at this
Right.
moment. Very often sitting in front of a screen of some kind if I'm playing a game. So
Right.
I don't really do a lot of handheld gaming these days.
So yeah, Echoes of Wisdom. The other thing I started playing this week was Ghostwire Tokyo. It's the game of the it's one of the PlayStation Plus games of the month. And yeah, this is visually this is one of the coolest games I've played in recent memory. Now when I say visually, I'm talking about the combat, like all the cool shit you're doing with your hands, and the enemies. Like they're just cool and creepy, but like you have to read about them because like when you see what the inspirations are for each one of the enemies, it's like, wow, this is deep. So it's a game that I'm only 2 or 3 hours in, and I'm already seeing that this is, as you put it in the past, Ben, one of those games where you just put a podcast on and just do open world stuff, like just turn your brain off, because it is very repetitive. The Tokyo is really really big, but it's fun. Like it just kind of keeps you going, and I really dig. I'm not a big Tokyo guy, but I love like the Japanese horror kind of narrative that runs through the game, and the tone is just kind of a perfect mix between like creepy and action. It's not a horror game. It is an action game, but it's not leaning too heavily one way or the other. So, yeah, I'm enjoying this. This has been on my wish list for a while, so I'm glad I'm finally playing it because it seems like a really cool game, and it looks like there's a lot more abilities that you can unlock. And I think this is a game that needs a lot of variety and in combat. So I'm glad to see that there's something to keep it fresh. But yeah, I'm liking it so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that game. I was sick of it, as I've mentioned on the show many times. I was sick of it by the time I finished it because after I finished the game, I went and did all the cleanup for the platinum, and there's a lot. And I think there's even more. There might be more trophies now. You don't need more for the platinum, but there's even more trophies to pick up now. And I don't care about trophies, but once I finished it, I wanted to play more. And then by the time I got to the point where I was getting worn out, I was like, oh, I'm done, but I only have like 1 or 2 trophies left. I have to finish it now. So,
Right.
but the game is awesome. The atmosphere is incredible. You're right about the characters and the lore and the meaning behind them. And there's some of the storylines that really are like, huh, that was powerful. That was really like touching, to use a word I don't usually use. So, yeah, I like Ghostwire Tokyo a lot. I think it's on Game Pass, isn't it, too?
I think it is. Yeah.
If people have Game Pass, yeah, check it out for sure. Or PlayStation Plus, I guess, in this instance. As for me, I've pretty much been playing the same things I was playing last week. I've been playing some more Black Ops 6. I've been playing more Hunt. I finished the Battle Pass in Hunt, which was important to me. I've been playing Pokemon TGCP. That's very much a intermittent game. It's not a game I'm spending a lot of time on at once, but I'm having fun with it, doing a lot more battles, stuff like that. And then the other thing I've been playing this week is Overwatch 2. They dropped the classic mode, and they're gonna, from what I understand, continue to keep introducing new things until it catches up to the current game. But I hopped in wanting to play some of the classic mode, and then I got playing with my buddy Locke, and we played like 2 games, and we've been playing competitive ever since. And I don't know how I ended up playing competitive because I'm not good at Overwatch, but here we are. I'm like losing ranks every day. But I'm having a lot of fun with it still, and experimenting with some different characters I've never played before, and just trying to learn them and understand them a little bit differently. I've even been watching like some tutorial videos on characters and figuring out how to do some stuff, but mostly it's just hanging with the boys. That's kind of the only time I have for games right now is like multiplayer stuff. Just when I'm able at 1 a.m. to find some time to carve out to play with the folks. It's about all I've been playing. I haven't been playing a whole lot of other stuff. I will be playing. I'm about halfway through Mass Effect. I got to finish that before the end of the year, And I'm going to be playing Indiana Jones when it drops, as long as it's not a mess. If it's a mess, I'll wait. I don't mind, but because that's a game I want to sit and enjoy. But that's it for me. Nothing too exciting.
That's it.
I mean, it's exciting to me when I play it. I love all the games I'm playing, but it's not real sexy for the podcast, you know. Very few things are.
Yeah.
And that's all we got. That's all we got for the show. Nice short one, the fabled short show.
Hour 10.
Hour 10, not too
I
bad.
don't know that that's the short show.
Well, it says hour 8. 3 minutes of that was intro. So, I mean, you know.
The fabled short show would be a 45-minute show, which
That's
will
true.
never happen.
No. Man, it would have to be a really dry time in the industry.
Dude,
I mean, even more dry than it is right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Drier than a nun.
Drier than fucking 60 Frame Syndicate.
Bro, that was maybe the
I was
most
kind of
saltine-
excited. I'm like, is Brandon like, is he a closeted AC fan or what's going on?
Don't
here?
ever
But-
fucking say that about me.
That was like the most saltine, dry news story we've ever done on the show.
Oh no.
I was presented well, that's for sure.
That's true. Yeah, whoever did that was great. Also, Derek says, happy 17th anniversary to Mass Effect. Derek, you're going to get banned from chat the next time you bring up a Switch rumor. Just so you know.
Time him out.
Mods.
Mods, time him out, please. All right, everybody. That's it. Have a good night. We'll see you next week
Bye.
on Tuesday night. Goodbye. Am I ending the stream here? Yeah, I'm ending the stream here.